Hello guys, today we're gonna be learning sig figs. So to get started, uh, sig figs are significant figures. Those are the figures you count. So the first rule is all non-zero digits are significant. Are always significant. That's like the first rule you need to know. If you don't know that, I don't know what's gonna help you this year. So, yeah, that was rule number 1. Going on to rule number 2. So the second rule is zeros between two significant digits are always significant. So, for example, for example, 603. 6 is significant and 3 is significant, so you have to always make sure that 0 is also significant because it is trapped between two significant figures, which makes 603 3 sig figs. And the second example is 507. 7 is significant and 5 is significant, which makes the 0 in between significant because it's trapped between the two significant figures. Welcome back, guys, to another significant figure video. Today, or now, we're going to be covering the third rule. We have already gone through this first and the second rule. Now, to the third rule. The third rule is that zeros to the left of the decimal point don't count. You gotta always keep that in mind with those. So, for example, 0.042. In this case, there's a 0 to the left of the decimal point, which means it doesn't count. Also, a 0 to the right of the decimal doesn't count unless there's until there's a non-zero digit. So in this case, there is a 0.042. So there are two sig figs because the 4 and the 2 are non-zeros. Anyway, moving on to the fourth significant figure rule. The fourth rule is that the final 0 or trailing zeros in the decimal portion only are significant. I went over this rule briefly in the previous rule. So, in this case, if we look at 420.00, no, let's take that back. If you look at 420.00, yeah, 420.00, two zeros are trailing after the decimal point, and there's no significant figure to the right of them. If there was a significant figure to the right of them, it would have counted anyways. But then in 420.00, there are 5 sig figs because it's 420 and .00. So they have put the decimal point with the two zeros to show the accuracy. So you have to keep that in mind with those, that it's 5 sig figs. Alright, finally on to the problems. Here we go. So I don't think Mr. Snyder is going to give you these problems because he has made us do these, and it's going to be too easy for you to copy these. So anyway, the questions from page 34, we're going to be doing 29A through H. So A is 6.07 times 10 to the negative 15. And one thing I forgot to tell you is whenever there is a scientific notation, like in this case it's 10 to the negative 15, you just ignore that. And just jump onto the number, the actual number, the decimal number. So in this case it's 6.07. So as you can see, we have covered this rule before. The 0 is between two sig figs, 6 and 7. So it has 3 sig figs. And question 29B is 0.003840. So in this, as you can see, we have 3 zeros to the left of the first significant figure, which is 3. So you're not going to count those zeros at all, which means you're left with 3, 8, 4, and 0. And as we covered, the 0 to the right in the decimal portion of a sig fig is significant. So in this case, 0.003840 has 4 sig figs. And C has 17.00. So there are decimal points to the right of the decimal, and there is no other significant figure, so which means that the zeros are going to count, which makes this problem for sig figs. 29D, we have 8 times 10 to the 8th, which means you ignore the 10 to the 8th, and you're left with 8, which is just 1 sig fig. 29E is 463.8052. So you can see that this has a 0, but it's trapped between two significant figures. So all you do is just count the numbers in this, because they all are significant, which makes this question have 7 sig figs. Part F, 300. As you can see, there is no decimal point to the right of the zeros, which means that the 2 zeros do not count, making it have 1 sig fig. Part G has the numbers 301. The 0 is trapped between 1 and 3, and 1 is significant, so it has 3 sig figs. Now, 29H, I don't know if I went over this rule, but then if there's a number which ends with 0 but has a decimal point after the 0, so the decimal point makes the end 0 count. In this case, it's gonna have 3 sig figs because it's 300 point. So that point really makes a big difference.